Okay, good morning. So what we're looking at today is we're looking at the concept of calculating things per capita, okay? And we're going to use that for both the Olympic Games, and I'm going to use an example about doctors as well to look at that. So when I say per capita literally means by head. So what that means is it's a way of measuring things taking into account the size of the population, all right? So for example, if you counted how many trees there were in Melbourne, there'd be probably in the Melbourne metropolitan area, there'd probably be millions and millions and millions. And if you compared that to the trees to a country town like Bright, there might only be thousands in a country town like Bright. However, Bright probably has more trees for every person than Melbourne does, because Bright has not many people, but still a quite high amount of trees. Melbourne has lots and lots of people, and because it covers such a big area, it's still got lots of trees, but there's probably less trees for each person because it's got such a big population. Okay? So to show you that as an example, we're going to think about the difference in number of doctors per capita in Australia and the UK, so the two countries close to my heart. So Australia has approximately 70,200 doctors, and it's got 24,469,400 people. So to calculate the doctors per capita, what we need to do, we need to divide the thing we're looking for, which in this case is a number of doctors, by the total population. And then it's sometimes quite helpful to multiply your answer by 100,000 just to give you a comparison that's a bit easier to see than a small decimal number. So if I do that, 70,200 divided by 24,469,400, then times the answer by 100,000, that gives me 286.89. So that means there are 286.89 doctors per 100,000 people in Australia. Now the UK has 160,000 doctors, so it has more doctors than Australia does. However, you'll notice the population is also larger. There are 65,110,000 people. So again, to work it out per capita, I need to divide the number of doctors, 160,000, by the 65 million people. So if I do that and then times the answer by 100,000, it ends up at 245.73. Okay? So even though the UK has more actual doctors than Australia does, so 160,000 versus 70,200, per capita, there are actually more in Australia, okay? So 286.86 per 100,000 versus 245.73 per 100,000. So yeah. What you're going to do for the main bit of today is you're going to be working out which country performs the best at the Olympics on a per capita basis. You're going to do it slightly differently, probably slightly easier as well. You're just going to do it based on medals per million people. So by calculating the Olympics and looking at medals per million people, it's very similar data to per capita. And that will tell us which country performs the best given the amount of people that it has. Because unsurprisingly, countries with big populations, like the USA and China, tend to do very well at the Olympics, but obviously they've got lots and lots and lots of people. So it makes more sense to compare how many medals places are getting per million people. So as an example, this is all based on the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics, by the way. Bit of a weird thought, the Tokyo Olympics would have been happening about now if the world hadn't gone so weird, but hopefully they happen next year and a good success. So anyway, Australia has 24 million people if we round it to the nearest million. And at the last Olympics, they won 29 medals. So they won 8 golds, 11 silvers, and 10 bronzes, so for 29 medals overall. So to work out the medals per million people, we divide the medals by the millions. And for that, it's just 29 divided by 24. And this is really important. You'll notice I divided it by 24, not by 24 million. Because as it's medals per million people, you just need to divide it by the number of millions, not by the actual number, okay? So I've done 29 for the number of medals by 24, because there are 24 million people approximately, and that gives me 1.21 if I round it to 2 decimal places, all right? So that means for every million people in Australia, Australia won 1.21 medals at the Olympics. So Your task is this. There's a worksheet online that lists the medals from the last Olympics, and there's also a link to a website called World Atlas, which gives you the populations of different countries. So what you need to do is use World Atlas to find the population of each of those countries on the worksheet. You need to add up the medals that each country won. You need to divide the number of medals by the number of millions. So for example, if a country's got 30 million people to the nearest million and it wins 12 medals, you do 12 divided by 30, not 12 divided by 30 million. Then you need to make a new rank based on who has the most medals per million people. Okay, so remember that will give us a good idea of who's winning medals, even from quite a small population. And then afterwards, there's a task to find an Olympic fact about each of those nations. So as per normal, if you need any help in this lesson, I'll be available via Zoom all the way through. So if you're struggling, just log in. Maybe the instructions are a little bit hard to understand, but once you get into the rhythm of it, it should be nice and easy. But yeah, if you need any help, log into Zoom and try and get it submitted by the end of the session. Okay, thank you.